For sure. So my name's TC Spades. I go by TC. Some people might know me as a visual artist. I did a little photography and videography, but now, after stepping into what I would feel like is a more natural calling, I do music. I'm a rapper, singer, writer, and a little bit of a producer. So basically, my actual name's Tristan. My initials are TC, but this is basically what happened. So me being in the club, I only used to shoot and enjoy shooting around music. So if I'm in the club, it's kind of hard to hear and whatever. I don't like to yell unless I'm on a microphone or whatever. So when I'm trying to tell people my name, I'm like, yeah, my name's Tristan. They're like, Justin? Christian? Like, what? They can't even hear me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just say TC and just keep it simple, and that's that. But TC Spades, I used to be in a media program back in high school. So we had this one class where we had to make like a logo and brand ourselves. So I was like, who do I want to be? Like, I need something cool, you know? So thinking of like superheroes, Spider-Man, so on and so forth, they all have symbols and shit. So I was like, okay, what's a symbol that works for me? And I was like, let me just keep it simple first. Let me just go through card suites or suits, whatever. So I'm looking at I'm like, TC Hearts? Nah, it's kind of lame. TC Diamonds? A little too much. And I was like, TC Spades kind of works. So I just kind of ran with it, and here we are. For me, inspiration usually comes from media and then just from like my everyday life. So when I say media, like movies that I've watched, television shows, the internet, really, just like all over the place. It could be like last summer I was trying to catch up on movies because I don't watch a lot of movies as I should, even though I came from like a film school and stuff. So I'm catching up on like Catch Me If You Can, Kill Bill, so on and so forth, Ocean's 11. So like I'm drawing little bits of inspiration from those vibes and whatever. So even Scarface, like an 80s vibe, you know what I mean? And then my everyday life, I've lived a pretty crazy life. So I just kind of pick and choose my stories, and I put the words to it so that it can be relatable to everybody. In terms of my like rapping and writing, I guess you could say, I would honestly say like Jay-Z, Drake, J. Cole, Lil Wayne is probably my favorite rapper. But those guys, just because the stories that they're telling, like they're telling a story. It's not even like they're particularly rapping. And then when it comes to Lil Wayne, it's the words that he's using. Like, I don't know how he comes up with the words for his wordplay, but it's like it's always left field. You're never gonna really expect what he says until like the end of it. You read it, you're like, wow, that shit's poetry. Yeah. And in terms of sound, I even still say them. Tory Lanez a little bit as well, but like I'm a bigger fan of like hip hop and rap. So like the newer, I'm not gonna say mumble rap because I feel like that's like a negative term, but you know what I mean? When you start getting into the internet age, then there's like a consistent sound where everyone starts to sound kind of the same, which I guess happens with different eras. So I try and draw my inspiration from the people I mentioned, plus like little random people here and there. So I can just kind of like make my own sound, you know? Listening to right now, honestly, I've been listening to Keyshawn the Don. This guy had that 23 EP that he dropped. Yo, that's my guy. Cause I was working on my mixtape at the same time. So like he played me his EP first, and I'm like that's what we're saying right now? Like, I guess I gotta step it up. But Keyshawn, my boy, probably Raven, that's my guy. He did crazy numbers last couple summers with his stuff. So he's working on some stuff this summer, and yeah, just seeing his work ethic and how he takes inspiration and what happens in life and just really uses it as fuel to like keep himself pushing. So there's him. Jay Ruckus, that's another guy of mine. The track he just dropped, man, it's flames. All I'm gonna say is just check it out. Like he's got some shit in the bag. And yeah, and then Raptorfoot. I've been listening to that just my guy Trezor, just because of the situation that we're in, you know, championship. Talk to me nice or don't talk to me at all. I've always, I don't know, ever since I can remember, I used to like to draw. So like growing up, I was always drawing. Through at least like 3/4 of my, literally right up till grade 8, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like draw comic books or I'm gonna be a cartoonist. Something's gonna work out like that. Like, it's gonna be one of those. Until the last moment when I was like, I did my research and I was like, oh, you gotta drive reframe for animation. It's a little much. I was starting to second guess it. So it was still creative because then I wanted to do video game design, but I wanted to be art focused in that sense. After that, I went into high school for a media program, so I was expecting to take art courses, but the more that we did videography and photography, the more I was like, I guess I've always enjoyed telling stories, so the fact that this medium was a little more accessible and it was easier for me to get my ideas out and tell my story a little easier. So I was like, okay, I think I like this medium a little better. And just because it was just always around me, it kind of evolved to a point where when I'm coming out of high school, I'm going to university into another media program. But because, like I said, because of how accessible it was, it just made it easier when I have my downtime. I'm like, okay, I could be drawing and working on my craft, which is what people always told me to when I was just drawing. But for me now, I'm like, I want to use my talents with media for something a little more purposeful. Like, what am I doing with it? So in my downtime, I was also around a lot of creative people. So like, for example, my friend Trezor, Ryan, and Kiana, we just made some internet videos. You know what I mean? So they needed a photographer, videographer. I was just the guy who could do it. And because it was friends, it was just easy to get these ideas off and start marrying like different ideas with it, where it's like, okay, the video's sick, but where do we take it from here? How do we get it in front of people? What are our platforms? And we start thinking like business minded. So really it's the creativity was always just about telling stories, and then it evolved to a place of, okay, now how do we get these stories out to people? So that's where I had to like get real business savvy. And honestly, that took me on a journey where it was like, okay, shout out to my boy, Tony Kojo, great director, creative director from Toronto. That's my boy growing up. He made it out the gutter with me. We were doing the same stuff. And as soon as university hit, we heard of this event called Battle of the Beatmakers. So he put me onto that. He's like, yo, I got this little gig. Like, let's go check it out. It's going to be sick, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, sure. Let's see what it's about. Blew me away. Like, that was the craziest experience, man. So we did a video for that. And from there, it was just like, we kept that kind of fire going. We're just like, okay, we got to get into these rooms and take advantage of these moments, because it's like, we know what we can create. We just got to be in front of the right people to really pull it off. So that was the first crazy experience back when Yes Jules wasn't canceled. She came to Toronto. Me, Trezor, and Ryan took advantage of that situation. So she put me on. Now I'm in Texas shooting for South by Southwest. I'm like, yo, things are kind of picking up. I was doing a little bit of work with some big names in the city. That took me to like LA, Miami, New York. I'm like, this is litty. Because of how things go and how life goes, things didn't work out all the way. So I was like, okay, not the worst thing in the world, but I still have it on my resume and I have the experience. So like, where do I go from here? And because it took me that long to realize I just wanted to tell stories and it didn't matter the medium. So for a little while, I was like, okay, I'm not shooting or nothing anymore. I'm just going to be a creative director, because I feel like there has to be a value to the ideas that I'm bringing. Because me being a nice guy and I like to catch vibes with people, like it's very easy for me to rattle off ideas and just to really brainstorm something that's authentic to the situation that I'm in. So because of that, I'm like, creative direction, easy, marketing, advertising. Now, the one thing that's been consistent from the start of my creative journey, I guess you could say, till now, has always been music. Like, no matter what, if I'm drawing, if I'm having a photo shoot, or if I'm like shooting a really quick video for Instagram, music was always important. Like, the vibe had to be there. So in high school, I used to like write little freestyle raps, and like I used to produce my own stuff in this little like the media room. So I was just doing my little thing. I dropped a mixtape in university and whatever. I'm doing all these little music things, but I'm like, it's not even that serious, you know? Because I'm like, I can't sing per se, so I just kind of left it alone. I was like, yeah, it's on the side. And then it wasn't until now, after the whole creative director thing, I was just kind of sitting there and I was like, yo, I could probably be a writer, because I mean, I feel like I have enough skill to write songs, write freestyles, whatever. And my mentor, David Forteau, he put me on a lot of games. So this one time we're driving, I'm talking, I'm like, yeah, like I got to figure this out. I'm trying to get like 3 songs written for people this year and blah, blah, blah. He's like, why don't you just be an artist? And I just kind of like, I was silent for a second. I was like, you're not wrong. So yeah, from there, that's where it was like a crossroads and like life kind of changed. So I was like, okay, let me take that more seriously. And when I started taking all the business and the advertising ideas that I had just going through all the media stuff and everything before that, and the branding and the visual side, I started marrying it with music, which I've always enjoyed. Like no matter what, I've always just had fun with music. So now when I'm starting to bring a structure to something that you enjoy and you have fun, I'm like, there's no way I can ever run out of steam doing this, because I don't know, I'm always gonna have fun with it. So that's how I got up to here now. So like I said, there's the marketing, the branding, and having a vision, but really the joke is on everyone else, because I know how strong branding is, and I already know like the vision that I want for myself. And we live in a world where we have social media, so everyone's kind of got to brand themselves. So because of that, I took like Instagram and I ran with it. I'm like, okay, like grids are cool, whatever. I got to make sure everything's consistent, or it has to make sense. So that's like kind of well, it's important because that's the first thing people see nowadays, rather than a business card from me. But now I can use that. It's no longer just a portfolio for visuals. Now it's like people can come see me and see what I'm about. So what I because I have such a lock on visuals and everything, I know how I want to portray myself. So I'm able to pick the photographers, the videographers, the equipment, the location. I'm able to like finesse a lot of things to really pull it off and get the image that I want, given the circumstance that I'm in. So I don't have a label behind me right now, but I can pull some together where a label's going to be looking at me as a result. But yeah, definitely the visuals I have a lock on, and branding, I just got it down. So yeah. So Russian, that's the single I just dropped. Honestly, it came at a wild time in life.
I guess hence the title.
Hence the title, man. So basically, coming off the heels of the creative director thing and the writing, I was like, okay, I got to take myself seriously as an artist. So I'm working on some stuff, whatever. And then I get a decent amount of beats from YouTube. So I just kind of like look up type beats, and I find what really fits, because the YouTube is like populated with like Gunna type beats, and like it's just the same stuff. No offense, everyone can do some, to spice it up, but some of them it's just the same. And I was like, okay, let me see what works. So I found this one producer named Dran Fresh. That guy is ridiculous. He's actually crazy with what he does. Can't even remember the name of the beat, not on purpose, I really just can't, but I heard it and I was like, oh, this is kind of different. So I downloaded it, I caught a little vibe, I'm just kind of like sitting there taking it in. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna say on here? And then, I don't know, when you really like feel something, it's just authentic. And based on where I was in life with like relationships and stuff, I was like, there's a lot of like beautiful women and like amazing women in my life right now, but I am not in the place where I can like, I'm very soft-hearted. So if you make that connection with me emotionally, like, I guess I love you for life. I don't know. But I'm in a place where I'm not like financially secure. Like I'm like, okay, there's still bags to be got. I'm not as big as I want to be. You know what I mean? I got to figure some stuff out. So all these like relationships where these girls just know what to say and everything, I'm like, it's sick, but hang on a second. We got to take a second, because we got to slow down. This is a lot. So I kind of put it into words, because sometimes it works out where the other person is the villain in the situation, because they're like, you're very cute, you're very nice, and you want to be rushing into anything, because like one second you're having dinner with them, and then like they start speaking in a certain way, you're like, ooh, we gotta tone it back. We're not, there's no label. You're single until you're single, or you're single until you're not. That's what it is. So I was like, yeah, I don't really want to be rushing into anything. And yeah, I turned it into, I don't want to say like the scumbag anthem of the summer, but you know what I mean? Just like how to break it easy to someone. That's what it is. So that's where it came from. Honestly, shout out to my guy, Tyler Prince. That is my guy. That's my guy. Shout out New Jersey. You already know all that. But yeah, so my first time going to South by Southwest, which is in Austin, Texas, it was a situation where 40 Ounce Van was collaborating with Yes Jules, and they're like, yeah, we're throwing a party, so whatever. I already had the Yes Jules footage like with me in the video that I edited. They liked it, so I sent it a part of my portfolio to try and, they're looking for photographers. So I'm like, this is what I've done. They're like, yo, you're sick, come through. I'm like, all right, lit. And then coincidentally, I get an email back from Tyler, and he's like, hey man, like, sorry to get back to your email so late. Excuse me. He said, sorry to get back to your email so late. I'd love to have you shooting my artist while we're in Texas, like da-da-da. And I'm reading the email, I'm like, I don't remember emailing this guy, but I think maybe 2 or 3 months prior, I was just sending out cold emails to different people around the situation, because I'm like, either way, I'm gonna be there. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out, and it worked out. So, I at first I was like, okay, I'm going for the 40-ounce situation. I don't know how it's gonna play out, but I'm just gonna have to make the most of it. And then Tyler hit me up. He's like, yeah, come rock with us. Da da da. I'm like, okay. Now I have more things to fill up my time with. So I show up. He was working with these people called Starting Five and Sprat Productions, whatever. We did our thing. That was that. And from that situation, him and I just basically got close. And he's been rocking with me ever since. And then I started transitioning into music. And because he's an artist, he's a manager and he's already in the scene down there. I'm sending him my stuff and we're talking. He's like giving me a whole lot of pointers and stuff. And he's putting me on game too. So I'm like, yo, like that's love. And now when it came time for, he was putting on his event One Awesome Night. At first he hit me up because he's like, I could use some of your creative direction skill. We could figure stuff out. I'm like, all right, cool. And I didn't really hear from him. I also didn't check in. So it just kind of went until I think it was about January. It was like January when I'm working with my boy Brian. Shout out Unclassified. That's my guy. And around that time, I was like, you know what? I think I want to like take this serious because I had a song with Brian that's gonna be dropping called Ricki Lake, a really sick song. We made this song. I'm like, this is something kind of different. I think I'm gonna have to like get it popping. And then I'm like, yo, Tyler, I don't know if you still want the creative direction, but can I still come down there and rock with you? And do you mind if I perform? Like, I don't know if slots are still open, whatever. He's like, yeah, don't even worry. And this guy was the most accommodating guy, like through that process. So it was a little shaky, but I still pulled it together. Flew down there with my boy Jinx. That's my guy from like birth. So me and Jinx get down there. We're having troubles at the hotel, troubles here and there. I'm like, yo, I don't even know if it's gonna happen. I'm just happy to be in Texas right now. That same night, like we get ready, go to the show, and then we're like, we're gonna be late. Like we're in the Uber, and it's traffic, and Jinx is like, I should not have taken that long of a shower. I'm like, honestly, we're here. Like, at least you guys tried. And then he looks at the Uber. He's like, Cheryl, floor it. And she's like, oh, I don't know if we can do all that. But she got us close enough. We ran into the venue. They were running late as it was. So I had my time. I'm like, okay, I don't know when I'm hopping on stage, but Jinx, hold my bag. Here's my camera. I'll try and set it up like so whatever. And then as I'm giving him my bag, they're like, next up, we got TC. I'm like, hey, man, good luck. And I ran on stage. And that was probably the sickest experience I've ever had so far with performing. I've been on stages before, but never performing my own music. So the first song I opened up with was Ricki Lake, as I mentioned. And I've been doing vocal training. Shout out to Toy. She's been putting me on to a lot of game, and she's really looking out for me. So she had prepared me for that moment, like as much as she could anyway, because she was even saying like, you might forget your lyrics. Like there might be moments where you become very aware, but you just gotta like keep the performance going and keep the show going on. So I get on stage, I do my little bit. I'm like, yo, I'm TC, I'm from Canada. Like I just flew in today to come rock with you guys. So like, let's get it popping. The song starts and I was like, there's no backing out now. So yeah, I just knew I had like a good song on my hands. As soon as like the bass dropped and I start going into the lyrics and everything, I'm like, nah, they've never seen a Canadian like this before. So I'm gonna let them know. And it was sick by the end of the song. Like there's a guy on stage like hitting that whoa and stuff to my song and shit. I get off stage and producers are coming up to me. They're like, oh, yo, that was sick, blah, blah, blah. Shout out my boy Dank. He's like, yo, I got a studio here. Like, come rock with me later in the week. We can figure some stuff out. I was like, all right, sick. So amazing experience. If it weren't for Tyler really like putting on for me, I wouldn't have pulled that out. But did what I did a little networking, got my connections out, and I took that experience, and I've been running ever since, man. Oh, Records in My Garden. That was like my first serious mixtape, I would say. Like serious, where I put branding behind it and everything. From the start of last fall is basically when I started working on it. And I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm putting something together and it's gonna be something pretty big. So I just gotta keep my energy going and just keep putting a lot into it. It started out with me just kind of producing my own songs. And I was just really trying to like figure out a vibe and stuff. But once I had 2 of them and I started looking on YouTube for the rest of the beats, I came across certain producers. They had the right vibe that kind of matched everything. And I started finding something cohesive. And I was like, okay, this could be something. So I got to make sure that like, what am I saying here? Why does it make sense? So as a debut project, I realized I had to introduce myself. So I'm from Brampton, also known as Rose City, Flower City, whatever. So Records of My Garden comes from tending to my garden over the course of the last year, coming off the heels of everything that happened in my last career and like my last relationship and everything. I'm like, okay, I got to pull myself together and figure stuff out, because there's a point where I was riding a high, like I'm still in the club and stuff. I'm like, yo, this is lit, whatever, whatever. But what is it all for? Like, what am I celebrating? I was with my homie, but like, you know what I mean? So yeah, there just came a point where I was like, okay, I have to do some like growth, and I have to be really like figure stuff out. So as a kid born in, well, I wasn't born there, but as a kid growing up in Flower City, I had to rise through the cracks, through the concrete. So these flowers, all the seeds that I've sown, these are the flowers that are blooming, like the seeds that I'm reaping. So records from my garden is just an anecdote in time of just the growth and the where I started off and where I ended up and what I've learned in that process. That's basically what it was. So I just had to, yeah, it's just inspiration drawn from growing all across 2018. So being present along the way is definitely important to me, because I look at it as in the same way of being a director for like a video. So as a director, you have the idea, now you have to bring together the team to like pull it off. So starting off with that project, people, even up until today, some people are still hitting me up with gigs and like video stuff, and I'm like, that's not what I do, guys. Like, let's come on now. So in order to really take the step into music, at that point I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do a majority of the legwork myself, because you got to be able to put your energy in and show people how serious you are before they can invest into something with their seriousness. So I took my time to really learn the mixing process and the mastering, which I'm still learning every day. Production, I have the greatest respect for producers out here who are really just making things work and putting in that time, because it's not an easy job. It's for me, being someone who likes telling stories, writing kind of comes naturally, because it's like I already enjoy telling stories. It's about the words that I'm putting to it. But yeah, so the first project, I had to wrap my head around everything. So now I would definitely be passing it off to other people. Shout out to my boy Justin. He was helping me with the track recently. He produced it, and then because he works out of that studio, he mixed it and mastered it. So it was good for me to be present there, because I want to see what's going on and I want to learn at the same time. But it's also like, this guy knows what he's doing, so I'm gonna let him do his thing, because I want the best product at the end of the day, for the art that I'm putting out. Going forward, obviously I'm gonna be like the main writer of my songs. That's just how it works. Production wise, I like to be involved. Like I was working with my boy Brian, so Ricki Lake, and we have another song. We have a couple things that we're working on, but through multiple times, this is what I love in his process. Like he always leaves room for me to be present, and for me to actually have my opinion, so we can. It's not like, because when it comes to YouTube beats, it's like more times you're gonna use what's already there. But when you're working alongside people, you can put in your creative twist, because you guys are working towards a common goal. So for Brian to leave that kind of space for me, it's like it's amazing, because now he knows, he's like, okay, if you're saying this here, I can drop out this beat here, or drop out this 808 or whatever, to really emphasize what's going on, or like I can beef this part up to really let it like knock or whatever. And this guy knows what he's doing. So the second we start, you start finding that cohesion and that cooperation with people, then you take something that's already going to be a great product and make it amazing just by having that collaboration. So definitely going forward, I know I'm going to be involved in the process as much as I can, but I'm still leaving it in the hands of other people, because obviously they are good at what they do for me to be going to them. So we're just trying to meet in the middle. So 2019, I'm definitely trying to have a few more performances. I'm letting things work out as they are, because obviously things are in motion and in process. So definitely performances. There's a project that I'm currently working on. I'm gonna just let it drop when it comes out, but Unclassified is gonna be helping me on production and executive production, just bringing together that vibe, and definitely within the next little bit, soon, there's a single that's coming out that's gonna be off of the project. So that's that. In terms of just goals in general, I'm just trying to be the guy, just trying to be the biggest guy out here. I'm trying to, at the end of the day, if there's anything that I'll ever say that is consistent throughout what I'm trying to say, I just want to be able to leave the world a better place, inspire the youth, and just really take care of the people that I care about. So however I can do that by just speaking my truth and speaking my piece, that's what I'm gonna do. So that's that. Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.